as the co-founder of Snapdeal, a unicorn that all of us are very familiar with, Snapdeal actually deals with Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 cities and has a pulse on how rural India shops online. Kunal, what's been your experience over the last 5 years and where are we headed? Essentially, rural towns have actually more disposable income than probably cities like Delhi and Bombay because expenses are on the lower side. Does that get reflected on online shopping?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Before I get to the question, specific question, I think it's very important when we are discussing consumption in India and what the trends will be. It's good to understand, like they say in MBA classes, get to know the customer better first. Right? So if you were to just talk about who is this customer that everyone wants to go after. So maybe not today, but let's say 5-7 years out, by 2030, 75% of India's consumption will be by the middle class. So we are clearly moving away from being a bottom of pyramid and all those type of concepts to clearly a middle class driven consumption. At 2.1 trillion of consumption right now, which is give or take 60-70% of our economy, it's only going to go leaps at like 9 times in the next 25 years. So one is that a lot of the consumption is going to come from the middle class. Now that middle class may happen to be living in small towns, maybe living in big cities, but they will be everywhere. Secondly, they're also going to be very young. Right? So by 2030, the median age of this consumer is 31. Right? And 77% of Indians by 2030 would have been born after the late 80s. So if we were to just think about that going around the room, how many of us actually qualify? Not too many, yes. Right? Even I don't qualify. And third is that they are going to be extremely digitally connected. So by 2030, 9 out of 10 Indians over the age of 15 will be online. And they will also be transacting online significantly. So when you put together the constellation of these important facts, of the fact that the consumption is going to be middle class driven, it's going to be mainly young people buying, and a lot of it will be online. And a lot of their lives will be online, a lot of their transactions will be online. That gives a pretty good picture then of how the arc of consumption is going to go over the next coming many years. And the implications that has for companies wanting to go after these segments in the market. For instance, it has an implication of how distribution is done, where a lot of distribution is becoming increasingly digital enabled or even digital first. It has implications of how brands are positioned to different segments of, there is this concept in my investment firm, Titan Capital, we look at a lot of brands. We've invested in a lot of brands like, Mamaearth and Beardo, etc. And there is this concept we have, which is it's called the NMPB, right? Do you know what that means? NMPB.
We are all ears.
Okay, it's not my parents' brand. That this new generation doesn't want to buy their parents' brands. So there are a lot of implications going forward, whether it's rural or urban, where whether it's digital, aspirational, as well as novelty, are going to play a lot of role in how consumption happens in the country.